Greetings, Goddess Body Mind Spirit community. This is Tyra Omilade, your goddess guru, your sister friend. And you know, I love helping women align with their life purpose using the power of ancient wisdom and the goddess centered lifestyle. Today, I want to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his life, his legacy, his work, um, by looking at his chart. I thought this would be fun. And I do just want to put on record part of the reason I look at the charts, a lot of the charts that I look at is because typically whoever is doing the astrological readings, they're going to be looking at charts of people that interest them. And so, I don't all the time hear of people looking at the charts of African Americans, people of African descent in general. So, yeah, that's part of the reason I'm doing it is just to make astrology have astrology look like my community. So, wow, this is interesting. Dr. King is a Capricorn, and it's so fun that in 2024, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is actually on his birthday, not just close to it. And I'm really excited to look at his chart. I never looked at Dr. King's chart before. So he's a Capricorn, and that makes complete sense. A Capricorn is a leader. A Capricorn is definitely boss energy. And this is the kind of energy that does have the ability to stick and stay. And one thing about Capricorns that a lot of times people don't know is that they are actually action takers. They may take time before they do, take action or whatever, before they start making moves because they want things to be very well planned out. But Capricorns have what is called cardinal energy. And so, cardinal energy, think about the season of Capricorn, it kicks off winter. So, Capricorn energy is definitely this energy that will kick off something, will take action. And so, that's really interesting about Dr. King that he had a sign that, first of all, I see Capricorn is filled with a lot of wisdom. It's the energy of mastery, but it's the energy of mastery by doing the work. Capricorn is willing to do hard things when everybody else is kind of like, I don't know if I can do this. Capricorn is like, I will stick and I will stay no matter what. Very enduring. And again, I know sometimes people may not like this word, long suffering. Sometimes long suffering is just part of the path, is part of the process to get to where we want to go. We don't want to always achieve things in that way. And that is something that Capricorns have to learn. Sometimes things can just come to you, Capricorn, right? But there is this ability where things can be drab and dreary. Think about winter in the Northern Hemisphere. Capricorn is the winter time, drab and dreary. And Capricorn is like, doesn't matter. It could be sunny, it could be cold, it could be stormy, gray clouds, doesn't matter. I will stick and stay. I will follow this plan. So it speaks to so much of this power that Dr. King had. And Capricorn, the sun represents your career oftentimes, but it also represents your gifts and your talents. And, there's nothing like having Team Capricorn as a part of a movement. I can even see Capricorn being something like a pastor also. Very learned energy. So I'm going to tell you why he was Dr. King. And, he was definitely a pastor, but he was very learned and, he wrote books. And that is because his son, and I think this chart is right. Typically, when I see 12 p.m., when I see round times, a lot of times I'm like, somebody just rounded up the birth time, but the accuracy has been verified of this time. And when you look at this chart, it's like, no, this is probably his chart. So I'm just gonna take it as that is the correct time. What I did was I went to Astro Theme, and down here it says the source. Reliability is an A. Also, I love astro.com, and they had the same thing that it gets an A rating for accuracy. So, in his where is his son? His son is in the ninth house. The ninth house is definitely the house of someone who is a clergy. It's, it could be any type of spiritual leader, no matter what the spiritual tradition or system, or it could be somebody who is like a PhD, a master teacher, whether it's through education or just a lot of mastery and you are the go-to expert. That ninth house is definitely a house that has to do with being an expert, a doctor, a master teacher, and someone who is a part of the priesthood. So that was definitely Martin Luther King Jr. Now, another thing about his chart is actually the sun. I think the sun is at the top. It's the highest planet because the planets that's the highest in your chart is a very significant planet. My chart doesn't have any planets up here that are super high. So for people who do have planets that are across the top of the chart, they may be people who, I mean, they don't even have to try. They will be noticed. They will be seen. Their career will be prominent in some kind of way, or they will have some type of prominent recognition. And so that's something else that I see very interesting in his chart. His sun is also what we call conjunct, which is right by his MC. The MC in our chart, and you do have to have your time of birth to have the to know where your MC is. His MC, the career point, is at very close to that sun. So no matter what, he was going to be a leader, some type of spiritual clergy teacher, very learned, for sure. There's no question about that. He was going to have that kind of energy. And of course, he did. But another thing about this ninth house is it's about publicity and publishing books. And so we know that this Dr. King was meant to shine. I know that, when I found out it was really correct, not Coretta Scott King. Oh my gosh, my mind is not fully here. I just had a very serious conversation about my dad. Rosa Parks, thank you. We know Rosa Parks and the Sisters are the are the ones that really kicked off the major movement of the civil rights, where we were able to significantly shift civil rights here in the United States. However, it was Dr. King who was called to be the face, the leader. This is just his chart. I need to pull up Rosa Parks' chart now to see, where are her planets if we have her time of birth. He was going to be on the face of something. He was going to be on the forefront and in speaking. Um, and international, because that ninth house has to do with international. Okay, so the other thing that I find to be so interesting in his chart is he has Mercury in Aquarius. Now, this Mercury is actually very close to the top of the chart too. It might be a tie between that Mercury and his sun, actually, which is at the top, but they're both up there. And the 10th house, it is related to the career. It's related to what you're known for. Mercury is communication. And so, of course, he's known for communication. Amazing speaker and writer. Aquarius, what is that? It is the sign of the activist. It is the sign of somebody of progress. And it's like, I want everybody to win. It should not just be the few. We need a society that is winning for everybody. And so that Mercury speaking about the need for us to have equality and equity and the civil rights and human rights and, the way he was uh, helping or supporting unions and that kind of thing. So, wow. Dr. King, I mean, if all we talked about was just those two, yeah, definitely Very powerful. It is so evident in his chart. Okay, something else. Let me just go on over here and look at his rising sign. So the rising sign is Taurus. Now, what I love about Taurus is, first of all, I always think Tauruses are good-looking people. It's just it's a sign ruled by Venus, and people who have Taurus rising, moon, sun, or maybe you have, one of the inner planets in Taurus, it just naturally imbues a beautiful or good look. It's something like that. So even his look is very Taurus-like. However, the other thing I want to just bring up about Taurus is it has staying power. So where Capricorn is going to come up with the plan and it's going to take action on that plan, this energy of Taurus is part of is it will help to make that thing come to fruition. Taurus gets a lot of if people treat Taurus like it's I don't know, people just really think bad things about Taurus. But Taurus is the most inert sign. If you want to manifest something, Taurus is the place to manifest it. And it's because Taurus, yes, the energy of the earth, but it has enduring energy. The very thing that people say about Taurus is they're stubborn, you can't get them to move, is actually you have to look at both sides. You want a Taurus on your team if you want to get something done. A Taurus is going to stick in there with you. And I know some of you might say, "Hey, I was with a Taurus," and they don't stick with you, but it might be they have something else going on in their chart. Their sun might be in Taurus, but maybe their rising sign is Gemini and their moon is in Sagittarius. I mean, yeah, that Taurus may not stick and stay. I have that kind of thing. I wasn't always fully connected to my Taurus energy. I was a little bit leaning more towards being a Pisces. But Taurus, if somebody has that Taurus energy, they're gonna make things happen. Um, so I love that energy about Dr. King. And I think it even kind of help him to have that legacy of why his legacy is so enduring. He's the first African American in the United States, the only African American in the United States to have a national holiday. I would like to believe Taurus has something to do with that. But also Taurus, whether people believe this or not, it actually can make people likable. Taurus is peaceful, which is another reason why I think, hey, Dr. King was like, we're going to be peaceful. People, I love Malcolm X with all my heart. I might be more aligned with Malcolm X at times than I would be with Dr. King just in approach. However, I appreciate those who are a little bit more fiery and radical and the way they take activist action. I appreciate the ones that are more peaceful also. Everyone needs to be allowed to be who and what they are. And so Dr. King having this Taurus energy combined with having Moon and Venus in Pisces, this is somebody who's about the message of peace. Okay. So, and even, okay, so that I think contributed to Dr. King having this peaceful approach. The other thing I'm just gonna say, because I don't wanna forget it, is Moon and Venus in Pisces in the 11th house. The 11th house is the house of activism. It's the house of the collective and doing what's best for the collective. This man was a humanitarian. He was always meant to bring and Pisces, I think, is a sign aligned with Christianity. He was always meant to do activism through Christianity, to be more peaceful, to study the likes of people like Gandhi. This is who Dr. King was born to be. Okay, so going back to this Taurus rising. Okay, so he's Taurus. And then after Taurus comes Virgo. So he's imbued with Taurus energy, but he's also imbued with Virgo energy. He truly had a lot of humanitarian energy. As like I said, Taurus gets a bad rap. I guess the earth signs that folks just don't like the earth signs a lot. Even though they're the masters of the space-time continuum, they represent the physical realm, they get a bad rap for it. I need to pause really quickly and say Capricorn is also the dinosaur of the zodiac. And that's, I think, another reason why Capricorns can just make things happen no matter what. But going back to his rising point, which is 13 degrees of Taurus, that is also the energy of Virgo, which is Virgo is like, we're going to help the oppressed. We're going to help the ones who are down and out. That is what Virgo is going to do. It can't not help itself. And then also Virgo is very task oriented. And so I don't know a whole lot about his day-to-day routines and operations, but surely there had to be something for him to be able to, do impact the world the way that he did. I don't even think it was like for a super long time either. It's incredible. Okay. So, so it's Virgo. Let's see here. Anything else I want to say about Virgo? I don't know what his health was like. I would imagine Dr. King probably liked to eat sweets or he liked good food, but there was probably something else about him that um, there was something about him in health and well-being that I'm sure was prominent. Another thing about Virgo is not afraid to deal with problems. So he's imbued with this energy through his ascendant of I am not afraid to look at the problems. I'm not afraid to go into troubled places and spaces. And with him having his ascendant being imbued with Virgo, and him having all this Pisces energy, it conferred this energy of guardian angels around him, which is why he was able to do so much. Now, this is not true for everybody, but Pisces is a sign that has to do with being in prison. And so, we know that he went to prison and maybe not prison, jail. But yeah, he went to jail. And so it's all in the name of activism for him. And let's see here, Virgo and then Libra. So he also has the energy of Libra. So this Venus, I was wanted to say about this Venus, it has this prominent energy of negotiation and trying to bring harmony and being somebody who is working to bring about balance. So he also has that energy, but also I think it continued, if you have Libra, I think Libras are some of the most beautiful people, just naturally. Libras are just beautiful and they have this refined beauty. Tauruses will have this earthy beauty. But Dr. King was a good looking man. Now I didn't know he was so short. On one of the websites, it shows his height. I'm like, he was the same height as me. um, okay, so he had his okay. Now he also has Jupiter there. Jupiter is the energy of wisdom. And so he has Jupiter in the first house. It's the energy of the spiritual teacher, someone who is an expert, someone who is very wise, is also expansive energy. And I do find that people who have Jupiter in the first house, there's something about them where they are very wise, but they also, their energy is big. Even if they're not trying to make it big, in some kind of way, they look big. So for Dr. King, it was, his larger than life energy. For me, because I have Jupiter in my first house, it is people always think that I'm bigger than what I really am. I've always just been kind of called big, and it doesn't matter what size I am. And then I have a friend whose son has Gemini in the first house, and he's literally a giant. He plays football. He just finished playing college football. He should be going pro, but he'll be going pro soon. But yeah, I was like, he's literally a giant. But with Dr. King, it imbued him with all that wisdom and it brings about there's a level of good fortune. I'm sure And I apologize. I didn't do a whole lot of studying to remember everything that happened with Dr. King, but I would imagine he had a lot of things happen to him where he was like, blessed and highly favored, honey, blessed and highly favored. Um, but also it brings the energy of activism to his house because he has Pisces here on the 11th house. So that brings activism, the energy of that 11th house into the first house. Now, another thing is this 11th house has to do with broadcasting a message. And so, it's definitely something that Dr. King did. This is another reason why I'm like, yeah, this is a really good this chart has to be correct. So we looked at his ascendant. We looked okay. Here in his first house, he has Chiron, which I don't know if he was born sick. I don't know if he had some ailment. Again, a lot of times I just read his speeches and hear him speak or whatever, hear recounts. But he had to have had some type of wounding to his body, or I don't know if this is exactly the fact that, he died young, because the Chiron was there his whole life, but it's something happened early on with him that probably kicked off, this ability to have so much love and compassion. And I'm not acting like Dr. King wasn't perfect. Um, I'm sure he had his, you know, we all do. But there had to have been something that happened with Dr. King that allowed him to operate from that Chiron. That Chiron is the wounded healer, just this love and this compassion. I love Chiron, but it starts out with your own wounds. And okay, so let's just go around. We have here in the second house is his Mars. Now the Mars is in Gemini, and that would definitely, he could make money from speaking, or is definitely bringing up something about speaking and teaching and writing. And so that's very, very interesting. It kind of helps us to understand why he was able to speak the way that he spoke. Let me just put us on pause and go back here to this North Node. He has North Node in the first house. That could be one of the reasons why he's a little bit short, because when you have the nodes in the first house, it could exaggerate, what you look like or something like that. It gives a different look to you, or something about your appearance. So that could be one of the reasons. But North Node in the first house is unequivocally an indication you are going in a new direction. You're not here to do what everybody else did. You're here to do something radically new and different. And wow, that was Dr. King for sure. So let's see here. It's Cancer on the third house. And Cancer is actually a sign that has a lot to do with history and like love of your country. And so we can see this is definitely something that he would be talking about taking care of the motherland, history, leading. But also, that Cancer is this energy of nurturance. And so we can just think about like how his voice sounded and how it made us feel, and it was just what was needed. Cancer is actually another sign that's about taking action in the local community also. So, but for him, the local community was, down here in the South, but also just across the country. So he has Cancer there in that house. Pluto is this energy of power, transformation. So this is what he was able to do with with his voice. And so I'm going to just keep going. So here we have on the fourth house, because he's a Taurus rising, we have Leo, and he came from a royal family. Like, even to this day, his family is like royalty, right? So I think that was one of the things that I wanted to say about that. And let's see here. The fifth house a lot of times tells us about children. So I don't know the birth signs of his children, but, I'm a Taurus, and I wanna believe that Tauruses are great parents. But Virgo is definitely a house where it's kind of like maybe your children had a little bit of a struggle. Maybe there's a little bit of a struggle. Neptune in Virgo. Neptune drains things, So it kind of to me it's kind of telling. I mean, if I saw that Neptune there, I might would say, now let me tell y'all another thing. The 5th house has to do with your creative expression. It's like your gifts, your talents, what makes you who you are. And so um that is, that Neptune is like this download from spirit. And and it's in Virgo, which is like all these downloads and this natural gift and a talent for being able to speak to the problems in society. That I see. And I'm going to tell y'all, the planet that rules Virgo is Mercury, and Mercury is up here at the top of the chart. So I'm going to say that tells me a little bit more about his children. I don't know a lot about them, but I do consider them to be successful. I mean, to be raised up by one of the world's all-time greatest or most impactful, I should say, social activist and a pastor or whatever. It to make it through that is incredible. So whatever they've done, I'm sure um I'll put it this way, to him, his children were everything. I do see that. Even though that Neptune tells me that, he went away, which we know he did, but I know his children, I'm certain his children are like, yeah, our dad loved us, even though we didn't have him for a long time. Let me see here what else. Okay, so I do find that this Saturn and Lilith over here in the 8th house, which has to do with wounding and crisis and chaos. We have Lilith, which has to do with disempowerment. And yeah, I don't know a lot about his childhood. I still think something happened to Dr. King. Um, yeah, I need to go do a little bit more history on that, but maybe it's good that I don't fully know because y'all can fill me in. And then we have Saturn. Now, Saturn can create a block. It can create the ability to deal with problems. And so him having Saturn in the 8th house, he was like, "Chaos, bring it." Even if his Pisces moon wanted to run, that Saturn in that 8th house, that's a good placement for Saturn though, because the 8th house has a lot to do with problems and wounding. And Saturn is like, "I'm gonna get real. We're gonna deal with this thing." It's also this energy of transformation. Tauruses in the midst of chaos might be a little bit optimistic because the sign that's there is Sagittarius. Um, and so, in the hard times, he's able to bring um, what do you call it? Inspiration. And there was something I don't know if he got blocked from traveling abroad, but I can imagine being abroad was actually something that was really good for Dr. King. Um, so I just want to speak here. This is the house that has to do with marital partnership. And it's why he had a wife and, she was very devoted. She was very much a part of um, what he was doing. We have Scorpio there and we have South Node. This thing it was gonna work for him. And the planet that rules Scorpio, now Scorpio is enduring energy. It's gonna stick with you. Scorpio is like, oh, we got problems. Not a problem. Let's do it. And we know, his beautiful wife, Coretta Scott King, she was all in. That's scorpionic energy. I wish I knew hold on one second. I'm recording this, so I decided to go and look and see what she is. She's a Libra rising. I told y'all this Venusian energy. She was very, very beautiful. So this Venusian energy, she's a Taurus sun, not a Scorpio, but her sun is in the 8th house, which is scorpionic. So he definitely had a scorpionic like wife. But they both had Taurus energy. I find that to be interesting. They both had um, Piscean energy. I find that to be very, very interesting. And sometimes you can tell who a woman's husband is going to be by looking at Jupiter. This is from ancient Vedic astrology. And her Jupiter is in Pisces, so she might would get a husband who was Pisces. Like they were nicely matched. I mean, both of them are Venusian. They're both of their charts are ruled by Venus. They both had um, Pisces energy, and they both had Geminian. Her Venus is in Gemini, and this is super super cool. So yeah, that's what we'll say about his wife. But here, having the planet that's associated with the wife down here in the second house, um to me speaks volumes as to how much partnership was a part of his work and his values, and all of that kind of good stuff. So yeah, just wanted to share that. Happy birthday, Dr. King, honoring also Coretta Scott King and just the entire legacy, and hoping that we all are able to continue to do whatever we are called to do to contribute to that legacy. All right. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Oh, also, if you would, please like and share my video. That is very helpful to me keeping this this channel vibrant, alive, and getting this type of astrology out, especially for people of color, Black people. Love y'all. Take care. Peace and love.